Fear of annihilation overwhelms the young Jewish people as they try to find a way to survive the revenge of a wronged brother.
He anticipates not a fond reunion, but one of great potential violence.
One never knows what history has in store for the Jewish people. And when one community goes down, there's another community in another part of the world that survives and thrives and rebuilds.
The Jewish people get the name of Israel, but not before a violent confrontation.
We learn that he will walk with a limp because his hip is wrest from its socket.
And one woman's ordeal sparks fierce bloodshed that threatens early Jewish residents in their homeland.
The story, which is such a deep and profound, such an ultimate tragedy in the life of that woman whose name was not given an interpretation, that woman whose voice remains silent in the aftermath of this violence, is told as a story of male violence, of vengeance.
And the early Jewish people finally become the 12 tribes of Israel in this portion of Vayishlach. Action-packed isn't a phrase often applied to the Bible, but the portion of Vayishlach is filled with stories of conflict and violence. Immediately, the portion begins with Jacob realizing that the decades he spent away from his family has only delayed his greatest fear, meeting with his twin brother Esau, or Esav the hunter, whom Jacob deceived and had to flee so many years ago, fearing for his life.
He anticipates not a fond reunion, but one of great potential violence. He divides his family up into two groups so that if one is attacked, the other can flee.
Preparing for the potential of unbound rage from a brother known for his skill in killing and who's had more than 20 years to stew over the wrongs that Jacob did to him, Jacob uses a series of tactics to keep safe. And his initial plan is to minimize the risk that his whole family would be slaughtered. In addition to an entourage that could include hundreds of servants or more, Jacob has with him his entire family, his 2 wives, their 2 maidservants, and the 11 sons who have been born so far, who represent 11 of the future 12 tribes of Israel. This means that the entirety of the Jewish future rests on the survival of those traveling with Jacob. Splitting his group into 2 camps thus sends a strong message.
And Jacob splits up the camps. And he says very explicitly, if one of them is going to fall, at least I'd have the She'erit HaPleita. I'll have a refugee community. And that's so telling for the Jewish people. So how many times have we seen entire communities wiped out in one part of the world and yet surviving and thriving in another part of the world? That's true right down to the days of the Holocaust. 6 million Jews were killed. It was a major machane, a major camp that was destroyed. But there was a Jewish community, a small remnant from Eastern Europe, but there were Jews in the land of Israel, there were Jews in the United States, etc. There was a machane hanish'ar lepleta. So that too is an important piece of advice that Jacob is giving us, not to put all your eggs in one basket in a certain sense, and it has implications for today. I mean, if there's any justification for American Jews not to pick up en masse and move to the land of Israel, the justification is Jacob's justification. You know, I don't want to say the words, but one never knows what history has in store for the Jewish people. And when one community goes down, there's another community in another part of the world that survives and thrives and rebuilds.
The tension builds as Jacob's 2 camps survive the night without incident, but without any more knowledge of Esau's intentions. Jacob, grateful for surviving thus far, prays to God and asks to be kept safe, reminding God of the blessings for the future of Jacob's family that God has expressed in the past. Jacob also tries to curb Esau's appetite for revenge. Jacob sends Esau a lavish gift of hundreds of cattle across a river toward Esau. Jacob then takes all the risk into his hands by gathering his entire family and crossing the river too. The stage is set for these two rival brothers, Jacob and Esau, to finally meet. Suddenly, Jacob's plans are interrupted. In a battle of hand-to-hand combat that will determine the future of the Jewish people, and provide the Jewish people with a name that will be recalled for thousands of years, and remains to this day.
The Jewish channel is available on cable: IO Optimum Cable Channel 291, Time Warner Cable Channel 528, RCN Channel 268, Verizon Fios Channel 900, and Cox Cable Channel 1. For more information, visit tjctv.com.